Hey buddy, this is Colin. Welcome back to the channel. Today I will bring you a game of the Tier 6 German cruiser, the Nurnberg. And I had the Nurnberg a long while ago when I was grinding the German cruiser line when that came out. And Nurnberg was pretty much my favorite mid-tier cruiser in the German cruiser line. So much that when I reached the tier 10 Hindenburg, I wanted to go back and rebuy the Nurnberg again, just to be able to play it in some mid-tier games. But at that moment the Russian cruiser line came out, and I saw Flamu, his video on the tier 6 Russian cruiser, the Budyonny, which seemed really great and well armored as well. So I went on and bought the Budyonny instead and played that as a mid-tier cruiser. And during that time I heard pretty much just bad stuff about the Nurnberg, that it is a floating citadel and can't really survive in the battle. But that wasn't really my experience in the Nurnberg, so I was quite shocked to hear so much negative stuff about the Nurnberg. But recently I got a chance to play it again, and this was my first game trying the Nurnberg again. So I start off a bit cautious because I heard so much negative stuff about this ship. So I'm playing not so aggressive as I used to in my ships. I try to take a more passive role in the background, helping out, scaring off enemy destroyers and cruisers. And the closest thing I could compare this cruiser to way back then was pretty much the tier 9 German cruiser, the Rune, which in a long time was considered the most powerful tier 9 cruiser in the game, and probably is still actually. And I guess you guys are wondering, what the fuck are you talking about? You can't compare the Nurnberg to the Rune. And I guess you're right. I mean, it's pretty much mostly the gun setup and the look of the ship that reminds me of the Rune, but somehow also the kind of efficientness you have in game with this ship. I mean, I think it's an all-round great ship. Maybe it is a floating citadel, but my experience so far is that it's still a pretty goddamn strong ship, the Nurnberg. I mean, I can punish broadside battleships and cruisers with my armor piercing, and I have great damage output and fire chance on my high explosive shells as well. And as you can see, I still play a bit cautiously. I'm staying back in the background, but you can see that I have no problem with inflicting great damage upon these enemy ships. So far my team has done a great job. We have taken 2 of the 3 caps. We are getting pushed away a bit in the north end of the map. And it looks like we have some enemy ships pushing in towards our destroyer in the B cap. So I will need to have an eye on that cap as well. So I killed off the battleship, who I pretty much burned to the ground. And now I start focusing the next battleship. And this is, of course, one of my usual tactics. If you attack the support structure of the enemy team, in this case the battleships, and make them flee back to the home base, all the enemy team's destroyers and cruisers lose all their tankiness and support, and it will become a much easier task for my team to take them out. So by burning down these battleships, I hopefully scare off some of the other battleships to push in. So we can pretty much have a free reign on the cruisers and the destroyers at the caps. Now here I actually thought that I would get deleted, since I heard so much negative about this being a floating citadel, but even though I was pretty much full broadside to that battleship, I didn't take that much damage actually. So that was the second battleship I burned down, and now I'm starting to work on the remaining ships that are still pushing the cap. And as you can see, we have been pretty successful. The enemy team on this flank are pretty much running. Now it's time for me to start dealing with these enemy ships that are pushing my teammates in the B cap. And of course, this is something that the German cruisers really excel at, working on the targets from range. And if you saw my earlier Hindenburg video, you know that I haven't played the German cruiser line for a really long time. I actually sold my Hindenburg over a year ago and haven't played it since, and just recently I bought it back, and I just having a great time in the German cruisers these days. Maybe they have been excellent and strong the entire time, but I feel like, well, it's like a newfound love for those ships. And that's the third battleship I burn down and kill. And I can't really understand what's the big downside in this ship, because I feel it's pretty tanky. I mean, I've been the subject of many of the battleship salvos so far, and I pretty much haven't lost any of my health. So there is only 3 ships remaining. We have a battleship up in the enemy's base, which I think our destroyer is gonna deal with. So my tactic is pretty much to push up north into the B cap and try to help killing off the last remaining 2 ships. So I think I definitely will keep this ship. It's really nice to go back to tier 6 now and then, and in the outro of this video I will also show a post-battle screenshot from the next game I had in this ship, where I was really up-tiered. I was pretty much the only tier 6 in a tier 8 game, and even though we lost, not due to me, but pretty much due to everyone else on my team, I managed to carry pretty hard on my team, even though I was a tier 6 floating citadel cruiser. And in the last, I think 7 minutes of that game, I was totally alone in our base in a standard game mode against, I think it was 4 tier 8 battleships and 1 tier 8 cruiser that was spamming me with shots. And I managed to reset them over and over and over again and start a whole lot of fires. So that screenshot you can see in the ending of this video. So the enemy ships have finished off the last friendly ship we had in the north. So now it's time to declare my role as the King of the North, Jon Snow. Start running. Now, not really sure what direction this cruiser was gonna take. Now, of course, this is a tier 6 Russian cruiser, the Bedioni, so I have to really be careful about this engagement. I can't give him any broadside, but that said, I also, of course, want to use my 6 km torps. So I'm just gonna drop my torps and try to turn around as quickly as possible. Now this destroyer lay a smokescreen, which was a really great play by him. So of course I need to try and use this as much as possible. I take him out with a torp hit, and now it's just one enemy battleship left. He's showing broadside, so of course I'm aiming for that perfect place on the weather deck, right between the hull and the superstructure, and I go to work with my armor piercing. I lose visual of the battleship momentarily here, but our friendly destroyer understands what he needs to do, which is also very great game from him. Play from him, sorry. So I'm just focusing to shoot on the superstructure, and I just love these new effects from the gunshots. Those are just amazing, I think. I get the Confederate, which is really nice to get in a tier 6 cruiser. I'm up to 80k damage so far. 7 fires on targets, 4 kills, 1 torp and 1 flood. Now I don't really know what this battleship was planning on doing, so I just sent off some preemptive torps. Now it's angling quite steep, so I of course changed to high explosive instead. Start trying to set some nice fires on his superstructure. I'm trying to angle as much as possible, and also trying to change up my speed, so I will hopefully make him miss as much as possible. I really love these new fire effects on the ships. It's I think the most realistic fire effect I have seen in a game. I'm gonna show you in another clip that I will upload some clips from the test server. I mean, it's just amazing. So I feel pretty confident just pushing him really hard, just being that annoying cruiser, spamming HE and burning him to death. And as you can see, I'm not really taking any big damage, so don't really know what all the negative critique was all about. I finish him off, getting my 5th kill and my Kraken unleashed. So all in all, a pretty good game in a pretty great cruiser, I must say. It's gonna be real fun to try out all the mid-tier German cruisers again. It was a really long time I played these guys. So being top dog in the match is always nice. Pretty good fire. I mean, over 40,000 in fire damage. Tanked pretty much. I mean, 500,000 damage, potential damage. That's pretty good in a weak floating Citadel cruiser. So, some good credits and a good experience. So, as I said, this was the other game I had in the Nurnberg where I was against tier 8s. And I was one of the last team guys alive. And as you can see, it was a pretty good carry.